Don't be anything. Don't be anything at all. Being a Buddha is a burden. Being a Pacheka is a burden. Just don't desire to be. I am the monk Sumedho. I am the monk Anando. That way is suffering, believing that you really exist thus. Sumedho is merely a convention. Do you understand? Believing you really exist brings suffering. If there is Sumedho, then when someone criticizes you, Sumedho gets angry. Anando gets angry. That's what happens if you hold on to these things as real. Anando and Sumedho get involved and are ready to fight. If there is no Anando or no Sumedho, then there's no one there. No one to answer the telephone. Ring, ring. Nobody picks it up. You don't become anything. No one is being anything. And there is no suffering. If we believe ourselves to be something or someone, then every time the phone rings, we pick it up and get involved. How can we free ourselves of this? We have to look at it clearly and develop wisdom, so that there is no Anando, no Sumedho to pick up the telephone. If you are Anando or Sumedho and you answer the telephone, you'll get yourself involved in suffering. So, don't be Sumedho, don't be Anando. Just recognize that these names are on the level of convention. If someone calls you good, don't be that. Don't think, I am good. If someone says you're bad, don't think, I'm bad. Don't try to be anything. Know what is taking place, but then don't attach to the knowledge either. People can't do this. They don't understand what it's all about. When they hear about this, they're confused and they don't know what to do. I've given the analogy before about upstairs and downstairs. When you go down from upstairs, you're downstairs, and you see the downstairs. When you go upstairs again, you see the upstairs. The space in between, you don't see. The middle. It means Nibbana is not seen. We see the forms of physical objects, but we don't see the grasping. The grasping at upstairs and downstairs, becoming and birth, becoming and birth. Continual becoming. The place without becoming is empty. When we try to teach people about the place that is empty, they just say, there's nothing there. They don't understand. It's difficult. Real practice is required for this to be understood. We have been relying on becoming, on self-grasping, since the day of our birth. When someone talks about non-self, it's too strange. We can't change our perceptions so easily. So it's necessary to make the mind see this through practice, and then we can believe it. Oh, it's true. When people are thinking, this is mine, they feel happy. But when the thing that is mine is lost, they'll cry over it. This is the path for suffering to come about. We can observe this. If there's no mine or me, we can make use of things while we are living, without attachment to them as being ours. If they're lost or broken, that's simply natural. We don't see them as ours or as anyone's, and we don't conceive of self or other. This isn't referring to a mad person. This is someone who is diligent. Such a person really knows what is useful in so many different ways, but when others look at him and try to figure him out, they will see someone who is crazy. When Sumedho looks at lay people, he will see them as ignorant, like little children. When lay people consider Sumedho, they'll think he's someone who's lost it. You don't have any interest in the things that they live for. To put it another way, an Arahant and an insane person are similar. Think about it. When people look at an Arahant, they'll think he's crazy. If you curse him, he doesn't care. Whatever you say to him, he doesn't react, like a crazy person. But he is crazy and has awareness. A truly insane person may not get angry when he's cursed, but that's because he doesn't know what's going on. Someone observing the Arahant and the mad person might see them as the same. But the lowest is mad, the very highest is an Arahant. Highest and lowest are similar if you look at their external manifestation, but their inner awareness, their sense of things, is very different. Think about this. When someone says something that ought to make you angry and you just let it go, people might think you're crazy. So when you teach others about these things, they don't understand it very easily. It has to be internalized for them to really understand. For example, in this country, moods come and trick it into feeling pleasure one minute and suffering the next, happiness then sadness. But the natural state of a person's mind isn't one of happiness or sadness. This experience of happiness and sadness is not the actual mind itself, but these are just moods which have tricked it. The mind gets lost, carried away by these moods, with no idea what's happening, and as a result we experience pleasure and pain accordingly, because the mind has not yet been trained. It still isn't very clever, and we go on thinking that it's our mind which is suffering, or our mind which is happy, when actually it's just lost in its various moods. The point is that really this mind of ours is naturally peaceful. It's still and calm, like a leaf that is not being blown about by the wind. But if the wind blows, then it flutters. It does that because of the wind. And so with the mind, it's because of these moods, getting caught up with thoughts. If the mind doesn't get lost in these moods, it wouldn't flutter about. If it understood the nature of thoughts, it would just stay still. This is called the natural state of the mind. And why we've come to practice now is to see the mind in this original state. We think that the mind itself is actually pleasurable or peaceful, but really the mind has not created any real pleasure or pain. These thoughts have come and tricked it, and it has got caught up in them. So we really have to come and train our minds. It's comparable to this. If you practice according to the path laid down by the Buddha, following it straight, you will transcend two things. What two things? Just those two extremes that the Buddha said were not the path of a true meditator: indulgence in pleasure and indulgence in pain. These are the two banks of the river. One of the banks of that river is hate, the other is love. Or you can say that one bank is happiness, the other unhappiness. The log is this mind. As it flows down the river, it will experience happiness and unhappiness. If the mind doesn't cling to that happiness or unhappiness, it will reach the ocean of Nibbana. You should see that there is nothing other than happiness and unhappiness arising and disappearing. If you don't run aground on these things, then you're on the path of a true meditator. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Happiness, unhappiness, love and hate are simply established in the nature according to the constant law of nature. The wise person doesn't follow or encourage them. He doesn't cling to them. This is the mind which lets go of indulgence in pleasure and indulgence in pain. It's the right practice. Just as that log of wood will eventually flow to the sea, so will the mind which doesn't attach to these two extremes inevitably attain peace.